Hello, my name is Josh Laverty. I'm the designer and mind behind the over-the-top Dogs of War vassal module. This is a game system that we began testing as a combat system for a larger game, and we just soon discovered it was a game on its own. So what we've done is to test it, we built a vassal module, and it is now available to play. You can download it from the over-the-top Dogs of War page on the Vassal Engine website. It's vassalengine.org, and when you go into the modules, you will see the download right in there, alphabetically under O. So when you open it up in Vassal, you'll have your Vassal window gives you the module. And we'll just open it. First thing you'll see is the welcome window, which we haven't customized yet, but rest assured this will probably see many updates over the next little while. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start a game offline just so you can see what this is like. So first thing I got to do is I got to choose a side, Germany or Allied. The Allied has a couple of different options, so we'll go that route. And of course, eventually there will be more boards. So we finish. So the first thing you see here obviously is the big play board, and depending on your size of screen or monitor, you may need to zoom out. The zoom functions are along the top there where you can take screen captures. You can zoom in, you can select a zoom scale, or you can zoom out. We're going to zoom out. Right, so we can see the whole board. Now, along the top you'll see there's the connection to the internet, where if you want to open and close your server controls to see what games are available online, that's how you play against somebody else on another computer, using an internet connection. Retiring allows you to change sides. So in this case, because I'm playing a hot seat game to demonstrate the rules, we'll do a retiring every so often just so I have access to the different hands. You can see that I do not have access to the German hand because I am not the German player. However, I do have access to the Allied hand. So one of the game pieces is where you're going to find all of your cards, all of your troops, and they are divided through this drop-down menu between Allied and Axis, and there's also a setup window. This is going to help you build your army at first because we have not customized the player hands yet. Still learning Vassal. So I've opened my Allied hand. We're going to open that window a little bigger and zoom out just so we can see lots. And so I can see here, if I bring out an army list card just onto the table, my standard army list and my Russian army list would be a little different. So let's do your standard army list. So under the Allied tab, we'll open up the cards and pieces, and you'll see there's infantry, mortars, and then there's Russian cards. We're not going to use those. We're going to have a standard Allied army, so I need 12 infantry. What I'll do is I'll take an infantry card and I'll drag it into my hand. And what I'll do is while it's selected, hit Control-C, and that duplicates it. And then I can do that again until I have 12 cards. Alright, so now we've got our stack. If I unselect the card, I can then select the whole stack. And I can move them all around just like that. Now I see that I also have one mortar, so we'll select mortars and bring it in. I have... If I scroll over a little more, I've got tanks. Got one tank. Alright, then I'll take my artillery piece, my officer, and then under special weapons you'll see there's 3 different special weapons available to the Allied players. There's the listening post, the medical care facility, and the over-the-top card. The special weapons can be played at any time and immediately go into effect unless dictated by the rules on the card. If you ever want a better look at a card, just hover your mouse pointer over top of one and it'll expand and you'll get a zoomed in look at the mortar team there. Infantry brigade armed with small but effective mortars with 2d6. Now some of the pieces will be needed for different special effects. The German the German army has a trench piece that they can use as one of their special weapons. That trench is not needed in this game, so Control-D deletes it. So we have all the pieces I need for one hand. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close the Allied hand, switch over to German. And we'll put together the German army. Oops. With the game piece palette open, we'll take the Axis side now. We'll drag over so we can see German infantry times 12. Got a mortar, a tank, an officer, and a special weapon, which we won't bother at this point. We'll put this one in, just for fun. So when working with a stack of cards, the way it works in Vassal is you can move the entire stack, or if you double-click the stack, it explodes. Then you deselect, and you can click the card you want, or you can double-click to compress the stack again. So when I want one infantry, I double-click, unselect, grab the card I want, and I can move it around. So the way this game works is it's a push and pull game. You attack and you defend. So let's use some game pieces to indicate where we are on the board. Now the game pieces are universal. So when you have one selected, you can use the bracket keys to change which side it is. So here we'll use the Victoria Cross for the Allies and the Iron Cross for the Germans. And we'll say that the Allies are on this trench, the Germans are on this trench. Now as you progress through the game, you will take ground. And that is done using the battle mechanic. So what happens here is Germany always goes first. And what he can do is he can lay down as many cards as he wants. Whether it's 1, 2, everything in his hand. The trouble is that if he puts everything in his hand down, obviously the Allies will only set out one little grunt, absorb that entire wave, and then walk all over them. This is a limited amount of resources you have. So Germany is going to make a conservative advance by expanding their infantry deck. We'll take 1 infantry, 1 mortar, and, well, 2 infantries. So what you can do is you can then stack those, select the entire deck, using your bracket keys, flip them over. These then go out on the game board, and the Allied player then sees that there are 3 cards laid out. They don't know what they are, but they see them. So let's switch sides. Now it's the Allies' turn. They choose to defend by putting out some cards. The Allied side will put out some cards now in response, and they only know that there are 3 cards. So what they're going to do is they're going to try and use the artillery as a combination piece. Ooh. Selecting the deck, flip them over, put them out. So now there's 3 cards on each side. Both sides reveal their cards at the same time. And at this point is when you roll dice. So in this case, the German army contains mortar and 2 infantry. That's a total of 4 dice. Now if I was supporting with armor, 1 armor can support 1 card at a time. 1 card can only be supported by 1 card at a time. So if I had put out armor, I'd have more dice out of the infantry. In this case, I've got 4 dice, so I roll 4 d6, and then I add those up, so that's a total of 14. The Allied side has 2 infantry and artillery. Now the artillery, for each infantry card, receives 1 extra dice to a maximum of 2 additional dice. So the artillery can actually support more than 1 card. So in this case, not only do I have 3 d6, but I get 1 more for each infantry card here. So that's 5 d6 that I roll. So up at the top, I've got 5 d6. Alright, that's obviously a superior number. So the Allied side has won this confrontation. Now I consult how many blast icons I have, or the power icons that I have on my cards. And the infantry have a power of 1, which means that I can only destroy 2 of his cards. So the German player is obviously going to lose their infantry and keep them in order. So the 2 cards will go in the casualty pile over here. This one is the survivor. He goes over here, or wherever it is you so choose to place them, and you can indicate by flipping them over which ones are alive and which ones are dead. So these ones all survive. Alright, having won the confrontation, the Allied soldiers have the opportunity to take either the nab or the area below the nab. I like the nab, so we're going to go up there. Now, you can see some of the map is already colored green. That also happens to coincide with the color of the Allied cards, to show that this is already occupied by the Allies. Now, Germany has the option of trying to go around them to try and get to the end, but they may need to go through them at some point. When you run out of cards, when both players have run out of cards, it is the end of the battle. At that point, you will assess who controls the majority of the map, and that would be the winner. If, however, you control the same amount of space on the map, you will compare who has the most survivors. The army with the most survivors is declared the strategic victor. If you are able to overrun the entire army and push them all the way back, so that you have conquered the entire board, that is an instant win, and that at the moment that it occurs. So there you have a quick introduction to the rules of Over the Top, the Dogs of War. I hope you have fun playing it. And if you're interested in having a game, you can find me online at the website that has the download. There is also at the bottom players, and boom.